Hunk skipped back towards the shadows as the young man spun around, waving his sidearm in one smooth motion. Hunk had held his half-empty Heckler and Koch MP5 up against his chest. He switched the weapon to the semi-automatic and readied himself, sprinting into view to take out the target. He couldn't let this kid run off without the payload. It'll be my ass if he gets away. Hunk then heard the heavy door slam as the man left, the payload in his grasp. Hunk sprung out with his weapon ready, and he approached the door to the hallway. He would have had to circle past by the armory to pass the morgue and pass the way he came in. That wasn't an option. Hunk had entered the hallway with his weapon raised. His gear rattled as he continued towards the armory. He let his back fall against the corner adjacent to the armory and peeked around the corner to see a man stopped at the junction. He seemed to be deciding where to go next. Hunk wondered how he would be so lost. If he had been this far into the station, he would have had to come through. As the young man opened the small pamphlet with the Raccoon City Police Department mapped out, Hunk recognized the map was from his team's brief stint through the reception way in. As if trying to get his bearings, the young man turned towards Hunk's corner. Hunk almost drove back into the cover when he noticed the man wasn't even paying attention. Hunk lifted his weapon. This would be too easy. Hunk placed his finger on the trigger of the MP5 and steadied him, pacing the iron sights before the man's head. Just then Hunk got a glimpse of the young man's face. Jack? What the hell? For the first time in his life, Hunk froze in his combat situation. He remembered his friend's face in an instant. Jack Brody. He was the head of security of Umbrella, or at least Hunk thought he was. He was a different department from Hunk, as he was a fled agent. Jack maintained all of Umbrella's security systems. He was also a member of the private security firm who worked for Umbrella directly. They worked in conjunction with UBCS, Umbrella Special Forces. Maybe he took the case to cover up this mess? Hunk shook the look at the thought. Then why did dispatch the Umbrella Special Forces? Besides, he's private security. He should be a planter or an officer. What the hell was going on here? Hunk felt like an idiot, and now how was he made aware of this? Either way, he couldn't shoot Jack. Jack was a close friend. Not just by someone who half-heartedly did his job. Jack Brody had gotten his team out more than a few close calls. Rumor was Jack was a softie. He had a huge priority complex life, sometimes going against the higher-ups to pull their crew out. Don't forget the Spencer estate. Hunk then shook the thought. Damn, he muttered. It was undecided. He couldn't kill his friend. He also couldn't compromise this mission. Maybe there was another way to handle this. Hunk then drew in a breath. He knew what he must do. Jack found himself in the crossway, unsure of where to go next. He hadn't seen this part of the station yet. He stood in the intersection of the hallway, feeling like an idiot. For a moment he thought about continuing down the hall when he read the metal plate on the outside of the nearest town, the morgue. Hell no, he muttered to himself. You need to get a move on. One moment you're hearing noises of someone follow you, the next you can't find your ass from your elbow. Get moving. His thoughts returned to Claire, wandering the police station on her own. She was strong. He wasn't worried about her. He couldn't help but want to find her, though. The thoughts of leaving her only made their escape his stomach churn. Finally, in this spot of the map, when he spotted the armory, which had been locked, of course, with his bearings found, Jack found the map and slipped it into his pocket. He continued down the hallway in the opposite of the morgue, some stairs up back of the station. Claire couldn't shake the words of the mystery woman said to her. Avoid Jack like the plague. Claire made her way back to the main hall. The carnivorous room had become somewhat of a home base since the way she arrived at the police station. When she arrived at the main hall, she took the refugee behind the main desk and collected her thoughts. What do I do now? Obviously going back upstairs wasn't an option. Nothing up there but more of those stains of the ex-tyrant. She needed to head downstairs. She hated to admit it, but the woman was correct. She had to go downstairs to get out. If Jack was alive, that's where he would go. Claire then pulled a magazine from her Browning and counted the rounds. 6 more in the magazine. She had some spares in the box she had found in the detective's office. If she took the route the way she came, the zombies were minimal in a number. Claire then pulled a crossbow from her back and looked down for a sleek black weapon in her hands. Her thoughts returned to Jack. Did he have something to hide? Did you find him in the jail cell? Still, he didn't seem fake. If anything, she held back from him. Claire plucked away a sticky note from a pad of the main cell and scribbled a message to Jack before leaving for the underground. She stopped to check the map directly in the main hall and double-check her path. She stuck the sticky note in the typewriter on the corner of the desk. It would stick out most of that spot. She hoped that Jack spotted it, but that's all she could ask for. Searching for him would be a risky mission at this point. If Jack was alive, he would know that. Her eyes then caught on her note on the way out of the main hall. Jack heading downstairs, meet me in the garage. Hunk then hurried after Jack upstairs, careful to keep his footsteps from echoing behind him. As he reached the top, he heard a heavy door shut behind him. Hunk turned and trained his weapon onto the green door behind him. It was poisoned, just as the stair railing. Looks like Jack had veered off to search for an officer break room. Hunk very knew little about the room. The only thing it had was a few bunk beds, lockers, and their briefing was all the location of lockers, personal quarters, safes in the police station, and they required weapons upon the intersection. When his team arrived through the police station, was dead on arrival. Hunk made his approach carefully, and after counting a few seconds in his head, he turned the golden doorknob. He peeked inside to see nothing. It was likely Jack was searching the other room. Hunk carefully stepped inside with his MP5 trained on the bunk room. He passed by the table in the middle of the room and was careful not to knock any over cheap, stereotypical break room chairs in his path. Jack had found very little in the break room. He figured he'd branch off really quick. He wanted to see if any officers kept an off-duty pistol or spare rounds lying around. A quick rummage through the lockers turned up nothing. The TV in the corner of the room was mounted to the ceiling. The screen had colored bars that indicated no signal. He had figured that the news had not broadcasted for days. It was the bunk room in the back that he felt his gut jump into his throat. A lone officer sprawled onto the floor. Jack had kicked his head lightly with his sneaker to check to see if he was undead. Jack had trained his pistol on hand. The corpse was different somehow. Its eyes were emptier and cloudy. It was scary now of how much more humanity a human corpse compared to a shuffling monster to the rest of the station. Jack quickly identified the reason the man never returned. The lone gunshot entrance to the room illuminated the moonlight from a nearby window. There was an exit unwound on the opposite side of that mushroomed outward. Jack felt himself already gag, and awkwardly he took the grisly sight. Jack set down the gun-mental briefcase beside him as he saw the cause of the violence before him. A silver 50. AE Desert Eagle lied next to the body. Jack couldn't believe the find. Why such a big caliber used to kill himself? Surely a 9mm would have done the job. Jesus. Jack dropped the silver magazine and spent 1 round. No surprise. 6 shots remaining. Maybe it was something he could have been using against the ex-tyrant. Jack through the umbrella had some nasty creations in their lab, but the ex-tyrant was something else. He had heard about it, while it was in development, but thought of it wasn't ready for testing. Maybe they were a test. Drop the weapon. A stern commanding voice broke the silence. Jack dropped the magnum, feeling reassuring weight drop from his hands. Felt like a loosened appendage at this point. Sure? Jack obliged. Listen, good. The last thing I want to do is kill an innocent person. You have something I want, the voice said. Jack motioned to the case. Bet you're looking for the case. Without a response, the case was pulled away. Jack thought of making a move to the muzzle of the submachine gun against the back of his head, changed his mind. Listen, it's best what you keep to yourself. There is more than just the walking dead to fear out there. What is this, therapy? Who the hell is this guy? You obviously haven't run into the gentleman in the trench coat yet, Jack said. Shit, the stranger said. Why was Jack getting the feeling that this person knew a lot more than him? You must be Umbrella, Jack said. I'm not important. In a few minutes I will disappear, and none of this will matter. What matters is you head down the basement and escape through the sewers. Get out of the station while you still can. Jack turned to his head slightly. Why the advice? You're not going to kill me? I owe someone a favor. Jack's brow curled in frustration. Why was his voice so familiar? If you're not going to kill me, how about getting me and my friend out of here? Things aren't that simple. When you wake up and go back downstairs, I access the armory. Go gear up and go downstairs. Do not stop until you reach the lab. When you have trusted no one, there is the Umbrella employee train that can get you out of here. When I wake up, just then Jack felt it, a sharp blow to the back of his head. For a moment he thought the shot said moments. His whole world went black. There was nothing Jack could do. He was at the stranger's mercy.